Liam's been in our ear. We often go to family and friends to get a few lines on our guests. So he's given us a few bits we're going to get to soon. I wanted to pick up, I mean, you've had such an incredibly vast career of promoting different things and different jobs, but I wondered if we could pick up Fight of the Century, Tua versus Cameron. The fight had been organised and you get brought in to do the promotions for it. Now, in the, whatever it is, 30 years since, has there been a better pre-fight build-up than when David Tua was on Holmes and he sort of said, I'm really going to hurt you?
That was as good as it got. And I tell you who was the genius behind that was the current chairman of the Warriors, Kenny Rainsfield.
Really?
So Kenny was the manager trainer of Shane Cameron and promoter at times. And Kenny did an outstanding job with Shane, to get him to where he got him to. And the build-up and the zenith of that was Tua versus Cameron. And but David on TV, it was Kenny who said outrageous things along the way at press conferences. Like he had a little light on a skull on top of a pen that was a light, and he said, "David Tua, it's going to be lights out."
Right.
And I remember looking at it, going, "Kenny, you've just blown this thing through the roof." And when David, I think it was on Paul Holmes, I remember him sort of clicking his neck on both sides, and you could tell he was so angry because in all the time that he'd been a boxer, because he was enormously respected in America, and he'd spent most of his career over there. But to come home and to put up with this, from what he would have seen as not on his level, and he showed it. And I think one of the great tragedies of New Zealand sport and boxing is that David Tua never got to fight Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield.
How do you think he would have gone?
I think he destroys both of them.
Really?
And the reason I say that is that, one, he hit as hard as anyone's ever hit in the heavyweight division. And two, both those guys would have stood in front of him and fought, right? Tyson would come forward bobbing and weaving, which made him hard to hit. But David Tua was just a beast. An absolute, and I think he is so underrated. And I've had this conversation with people, and they all jump up and down and go, no, he wouldn't, because they don't understand, in my opinion, how good he was in his prime. And he was an absolute beast. And had he have fought Tyson and had he have fought Holyfield, he would have gone down as one of the all-time greats, because in my opinion, he knocks them both out because they actually stand there and fight. And that's the worst thing you could do with David Tua, a.k.a. Shane Cameron.
Yeah, because he fought Lennox Lewis, but he sort of got held at arm's length.
Lennox Lewis is one of the all-time great boxers, and at 6'6", I went and saw that fight in Vegas, right? So there's Tua versus Lewis, and I went and saw Lewis the day before or 2 days before in the actual boxing ring in the arena. And they were stretching him out where they pulled his arms back behind his back. I have never seen anyone with arms as long as that. It was like an albatross. And it was like Lewis was a superb boxer who at times he knew he had a suspect chin, and all he did was keep David at bay, and David couldn't get in. And there's an old adage that styles make fights, right? And that, unfortunately, it wasn't a great fight. It wasn't a great fight for David Tua, but had he have fought those other two, but that's just, and I'm sure with the benefit of time and hindsight's a wonderful thing because it's 20/20 vision, they'd go back and they'd fight Tyson. I think the reason they didn't want to fight Tyson is Tyson knew, and also I don't think Kev Barry at the time got on so well with Tyson's manager, Shelley Finkel. And then on the flip side of the coin, David used to be promoted by Duva Promotions, and Holyfield was promoted by Duva Promotions. The second David left Duva and went to Gerson or America Presents, the decision was made, well, Tua never gets to fight Holyfield. That's done.
That's the part of the game that nobody outside of the game really understands, is it? Is the horse trading and how that works.
Because if you're in the same camp, if you're in the same with the Duvas with Holyfield and Tua, it doesn't matter. You win either way, right? So if you've got the promotional contract on both guys and Holyfield went on to fight Tyson, imagine if after Holyfield had beaten Tyson, next up was Tua. And if you're the Goosen camp, you go, I want that fight to happen because whoever wins, we win. It's not rocket science. But it just, with the benefit, I'm sure things would pan out differently if everyone had the benefit of hindsight. And it's just a wait.
How does peak Tua go against peak Joseph Parker?
Yeah, that's the comparison to make now.
I'm not going to make a comment on that. I was asked that many years ago, and I said, why would you put two good-looking South Auckland boys in the ring together? No, I think that would be an incredible fight, but I don't have an opinion either way because they're both very different. and they're both great people.
Would that, stylistically, would that make a good fight?
Joseph is not scared to engage, right? And he likes to fight, and he likes people who come forward. He doesn't run away, so I think it would be a bloody war, to be honest. I think it'd be a great fight. And Joe's got an incredible chin, as does David Tua. So I have no idea how that would go, but I think it would be an exciting fight.